Good day. Hello, everyone. My name is Anthony Kazub. I'm the chair of the Toronto Audio Engineering Society. I'm here in my garage because, and I got, the burnt up CBC flag. They gave me the time off. They said, hey, you're not producing this event. We're going to call it in. We're going to phone it in. We got some professionals who are going to be producing it. So if you've noticed, we've done a lot of YouTube streaming in the past. They've been pre-recorded events, and ultimately they've been pre-recorded because of the complexity that you're about to see very, very soon here. We're very lucky to have a presentation that kind of exposes kind of the behind the kabuki, behind the wizard's curtain of what goes on to make a live broadcast happen. The Toronto AES, we are torontoaes.org. We unite audio engineers socially. So within our allied arts, we collate, and disseminate scientific knowledge that furthers all fields of audio engineering. The AES aims to empower people of all ages through participation in a healthy, safe, open community presentation. You learn about audio through events, mentorship, and networking. More information, go to torontoaes.org. I'd like to thank our regular supporting sponsors, Solotech, Gear Audio, Sonotechnique, Bell Media, YSL Pro, Electrosonics Canada, BRTB, Global USS, Adamson, Lawo, avshop.ca, and Q5X. If you would like to join the AES, or if you're not already a member, please go to aes.org/join. There you can select Toronto as your section, as your section, your main section, and you'll be able to get emails from us, to us, et cetera, et cetera. If you need to reach out to us, again, Toronto AES at torontoaes.org. We're email. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have a whole bunch of things. We could not make these events without the volunteers that make the Audio Engineering Society possible. These meetings are member-driven, so if you are a member and you would like to participate in creating a meeting or in producing a meeting, please reach out to us. We're very approachable in terms of content, and we look forward to, like we say, sharing, disseminating scientific knowledge. With that, this meeting was produced and chaired, not so much produced, but Ross Whitney, who is vice chair of the Toronto AES, as well as one of our valued members, Dan Malbourquette, who was able to put us in touch with StageVision. So, I think this is like a super duper fancy thing. So I can actually just say, let's go to Ross. Ross, are you on the line? Is Ross on the line? Let's see if this thing works. Does this work? Hey,
Hello,
Ross.
is this thing on? Hello, is this thing on?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
I'm here.
This is amazing.
Let the bells ring out and the banners fly. Okay, hi everybody and welcome. I'm just going to tell you just a little bit about the event tonight, and I've got a script right in front of me, and this is all very slick. Okay, so when the live events industry ground to a crashing halt in the spring of 2020, StageVision's traditional market evaporated instantly. The company faced an existential, it's easy for me to say, existential crisis, and rose to the challenge by pivoting from providing live event support to transforming their warehouse and office space into a virtual event broadcast center to support the needs of their clientele. So that's what we're going to be checking out tonight. It's going to be really exciting. Stick around. So StageVision's John Christie, Bryce Engelman, and Kevin Ruck will discuss how they made the transition, how they attracted clients, and the system design, implementation, and sheer genius that they devised to meet their needs. StageVision is Canadian-owned, operated audiovisual staging and event management company with offices across Canada, and we're very glad to have them with us tonight.
Well, that's great. Ross, Anthony, thanks for having us. It's quite a pleasure to be here. I always like to start these events off by just welcoming and thanking our crew who are here today. We have John doing graphics backstage. We have Kevin and Jay running cameras. We have Kevin Ruck handling vMix, and Andrew Davey doing ingest, which is kind of all the managing of all the virtual connections coming into the studio. And Tian is our switcher director for tonight. So thanks to all the crew for sticking with us, not only through this event, but through all this these crazy times. So thanks again. Tyler on audio, forget Tyler on audio. Thanks, buddy. He's got my ear, so I got to make sure he's recognized. You heard a little bit of story about StageVision. We are a live event technology company. We have a 40,000 square foot warehouse out here in Mississauga. It's full of live event technology, projection, sound, lighting, everything to do big corporate events. And for 30 years now, we've been traveling the globe, pretty much doing high-end corporate events only, some festivals and live entertainment stuff, but mostly corporate events. So, of course, all that ended about a year ago, back in March, complete overnight shutdown. Every event that we had scheduled was canceled indefinitely. So we spent pretty much the month of April going, what are we going to do? And I guess it was beginning of May where we started to build out the very first control room, CR1, which is just next door here. It was based on an Encore rig, 12 VMRs, which are virtual meeting rooms, so 12 individual connections into the studio. And from there it grew. We built out a total of 4 large control rooms in our warehouse and front office space, 2 sound stages, one of which we're in today with the video wall behind us, and another sound stage across the warehouse in another space, which used to be our carb shop, which is sort of a black box space, which has the ability to drive in vehicles for cars. We just did a Subaru thing last week, did a kind of a commercial shoot in there. And then two more smaller web suites where we do smaller broadcasts. So pretty much our warehouse and front office space has been converted into a virtual event space, and we're pretty proud of what we've built out here. So every one of these control rooms, in addition to being sort of a control room central, zone, also has separate spaces for our clients, so they can come in and watch in a private room. They can watch the event and communicate with crew and stage managers. There's actually another room for each control room, which is a kind of a stage manager room. So most of our shows, we're bringing in stage managers to call these shows. And even our sound stages have separate green rooms and even makeup. So our 40,000 square foot warehouse is now a whole bunch of separate rooms for customers, control rooms, sound stages. It's been quite the transition. We're pretty proud of what we built, and we believe it's probably one of the most robust virtual event studio spaces in Canada. When we first thought about designing these studios, we thought more about what our customers would want and not so much about what our viewing audience would want. We kind of put our customers first, and our customers are typically producers and meeting planners, and those are meeting planners from live events. So they're corporate meeting planners from live event shows and producers from live event shows. And so we wanted to give them the ability to have and see and hear everything that they would normally see in a live event, but have that ability virtually. So they need to hear the crew, they need to talk to the crew, they need to be able to talk to presenters, and they need to talk to their stage managers kind of all virtually. So we set up the ability for multi-view monitors remotely for in-home viewing for our customers and even our stage managers. We built out communication devices like Agent IC, where the customer can not only talk to the crew, but they can talk to their presenters behind the scenes without, even during a live broadcast, they can talk to them without being heard. So basically, we want to give them all the same tools they're used to in a live event, but do it virtually. When we did that, we also wanted to consider the presenters. So maybe Kevin, you can play that VMR video that we've produced. The desire to give our meeting planners that same kind of live experience extended to our virtual presenters. So every presenter has the ability to see their PowerPoint notes, for instance. We can send them a speaker timer. We can send them, give them remote queuing devices. We can even give them the ability to see a teleprompter script. And all that is done because we bring in presenters on a one-to-one basis with our studio. So we don't throw everybody into a Zoom call. We bring in presenters individually into our studio. So CR1, for instance, has 12 computers that are dedicated to individual presenters. And every individual presenter is a separate connection to our studio, giving us the ability to not only talk to presenters behind the scenes individually without anybody else hearing them, including the audience, but it gives us the ability to send back that teleprompter feed, that individual, speaker notes or slide cues. So pretty robust system that we've set up. So if there's anything that I've learned doing all these virtual events, it's that we got to keep this as interactive as possible. So I'm going to pass this off to John very shortly, but I want to make sure that lots of questions are coming in. So please feel free to ask us any questions. It doesn't have to be, completely technical. It can be off topic. It can be about what we see coming down the future. But keep in mind that it's very much technical. So feel free to try to stump us. If you want, you can stump me. It's going to be pretty easy. But John and Kevin, that's another matter. And part of my job here too is to make sure that I keep John from talking too much. So the more questions that we get in, it gives me more opportunity to interrupt John and get him to shut up and maybe change topics. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to John and the rest of the team here. So John, here you go.
Thank you. Oh, right. Yes. Bryce is going to interrupt me regularly. But at least keep me on track. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, and thank you all for coming out tonight, is basically our audio over IP. This is where we started from. Basically, Dante was the simplest solution. We put it over 3 VLANs, a primary, secondary. We're building out an AES 67 that we'll be using for the next stage of our intercom expansion. Those 3 VLANs are completely isolated from each other and the internet, so they're somewhat impervious to outside intervention. We've got an average on a day-to-day basis between 81 and 96 odd devices. They come and go depending on what's needed in any one of the control rooms. For that, we ended up going through a process. We started out with Dante Virtual Sound Card on a number in our early days, and quickly discovered some flaws that put some extra traffic on some of our networks. And very quickly we discovered that the Audinate Avio USB adapter, which basically just plugs in, it's a class compliant device. We could put it on any of our computers. It just appears as a sound card, completely ignores the NDI traffic, discovery traffic that was appearing. We did keep the DVS, the Dante Virtual Sound Card, on some of our vMix stations just because we wanted some extra input and output tracks to that. And it's easier to lock out the extra traffic on a small number of machines. Beyond that, we actually expanded further into some of the other Avio adapters, XLR, to use client viewing rooms, like Fostex is in the client viewing rooms, recording feeds, camera recordings, some SI translation feeds, voice of God mics from stage managers, just some universal drop audio in and outs in some of our sound stages. And they were just invaluable little PoE audio in. It was fantastic. And those we fed out into our consoles. We're using Soundcraft VI series, 2000, 3000 series consoles that onboard Dante. And those all feed out and are routed through to our matrix intercom, where we've got 2 Dante cards. There are 64 ports each, bidirectional, times 2. It's 128 by 128 into our digital matrix intercom. So I just need to catch up. There we go. The other thing we've got is our leader clock, which is, we've gone with the Studio Technologies. Well, they used to be called master clocks. Now they're called leader clocks. It has been utterly impeccable. It has been the best investment we've made in audio so far. It's perfect stability, offers both PTP1 and PTP V2 clock sync on both the primary and secondary. And from the moment we put it online, absolutely every one of our Dante devices just went rock solid and have not had a hiccup since with clock sync. And we're planning to move forward as well. As we go into live, we're planning to put them out on all of our medium and large shows as we go forward. And Kev, let me throw this over to Kevin Ruck for our video over IP.
Hi there, how are y'all doing today? I'm Kevin Ruck. I'm essentially one of the lead video specialists and technologist and control room designer, working with John Christie here. And today, I'm going to tell you on my end how we kind of ended up moving forward from 0 shows to survival. Let me got to run 2 things at once here. Anyways, give you a little bit of a idea. We went through a couple of different iterations from our original design. We started off with a control room in one of our spaces. Decided we needed more space. We were using a Barco E2 system with an S3. Thankfully, the multi-operator stuff finally came out, and we're able to spread the workload of our ingest portion and our program mixing on the same frame, which saved us a lot of infrastructure, a lot of little bits and pieces that, failure points and stuff. So originally started off using straight copper, HDSDI, HDMI, all those kind of infrastructures that everyone's typically normally used to using. Not quite broadcast level, but just underneath in certain cases, just because it's AV. AV typically doesn't have that. How we present an event isn't the same how we would do in a typical broadcast event, but it still applies to live events. And I'm sure a bunch of you have all done live events, so you can, you tend to have to use with what you got. So after that, we decided, once we realized we needed more control rooms, we had to figure out how we're going to do this, because we're running out of gear, and eventually we still have to prepare for what's going to be happening down the road. Eventually we are going to go live again, and this is not going to go away. So we started moving. I'd been dabbling with NDI a little bit before, hadn't quite become stable, but right around that time it had finally become stable enough to use in a production environment. fairly low latency, and especially with the bandwidth network constraints we would have, it just fit our needs. It just truly flopped right in there. We didn't have to go too crazy like SMPTE 2110 and run everything, all sorts of crazy bandwidth levels. So this became just the easy solution. We opted for vMix, which I'm using here today to help broadcast at the event. We opted with trying to do a more one-on-one experience with our presenters, and one of the main reasons actually was for audio, because we send a lot of independents do everything over using one Zoom link or one Teams link and then broadcasting it out, and the audio becomes a nightmare. People leaving their mics on, dogs barking in the background, cats, feral children running around. So we decided to do a one-on-one basis. And actually, Tian, if you could spin the camera around to show over where Andrew is, if you could, please. Okay, so over here you can kind of see Andrew. You'll probably see more of him later. But you can see there's this is just one portion of it. Everything's running NDI. You see we have individual meeting links. You can actually see Ross in the corner there. And some other meeting links. All of our multi-viewers in this scenario are over NDI, just because it's easy, it's right there. And actually, there's a lot of things that are actually as far as cost or more cost effective in doing it in this way as well. You don't have to buy $70,000 multi-viewers and things like that. So it really helps out in a lot of other things. Everything is, of course, all the multi-viewers and all the feeds back to all the presenters are switched via NDI. Even though it is a fair amount of bandwidth, we've been able to restrict it to being in a streaming scenario. We don't require 4K, right? So we don't need to use huge amounts of bandwidth. I can bring it back down quite a bit. We have, as Tian, you can flip it back towards me if you like. We have separate networks for Dante as we do NDI. There's in the future we are going to expand to be able to get more more bandwidth happening through all our devices, running 10 gig NICs off of all of our devices just to get everything going. NDI 5 is now coming up the next few days, which is going to start implementing over a wide area network. So from location to location over internet. We'll see how that turns out as far as latency. But they're also supposed to be introducing Genlock as well, which should bring some interesting things as far as maybe taking multiple devices and syncing them and frame locking them. We'll see how that turns out. So it's really exciting as far as seeing all these new iterations of things happening that were actually on a roadmap that wasn't for another 7 years, and it all had to happen inside a year, like Microsoft Teams and Zoom and all these meeting space virtual meeting spaces have had to really ramp it up. There's been out and out failures for every one of them, just because it's just been so crazy. But that's kind of how we looked at our video over IP, just to simplify things, make it easier, make it fairly simple for not just really high end users, but users that people when we hire staff that can grasp it fairly easily and move forward, just to make it all sorts of simple. So that's kind of how, like I said, that's kind of how we looked at it for our video over IP. I'm going to flip it back to John, who's going to talk to you a bit about intercom.
Thanks, Kev. Yeah, the intercom has gone through just an astronomical change over the past year and a bit. Basically, we started out with two wet party lines in the CR1 that's right next to us, and yeah, that worked great for a little while in a limited survive. But as soon as we had to make it scalable, we couldn't direct access to the IFBs that were our presenters. We were trying to operate the ingest position through a second monitor large format console. It was a 96-channel digital console. And we realized that we needed to find some solution. So we came up with the digital matrix, the ClearComm Eclipse digital matrix frame. And it allowed us to basically replace that 96-channel console with a 2U intercom panel that anyone could use. That's now also scalable up to the 6 control rooms we have right now or more. It allows us to phase in our migration in various parts of those control rooms. So we don't have to go out and buy 20, 40 wireless panels, matrix panels, all at once. We can slowly migrate them in where we need them and where they're most needed. Allowed us to integrate analog 4-wire inputs, the various wet party lines, telephone interfaces. We even still use the old telephone. I know it's a bit rare, but we do have, and they've actually really come in handy. When we run out of some resources, we just tell people to call it in. We found that the analog panels, just pure and simple, going analog was the lowest latency within our control room, so that the various members within the same room would not have an echo between each other. We still need an IP card for our remote access, for the agent IC, for remote IP panels, for some of our engineering staff like Kevin and myself, or sometimes we'd send it out with stage managers or producers, these remote IP panels. LQ boxes, basically a throw down IP wet party line that we could just send anywhere. We've got one going out next week to Waterloo that was going to pull back a couple of channels into a control room so that we can talk to the 2 staff who will be out on site there. Free speak. Basically, we managed to do it with 15 bell packs, but it has taken us 97 different job roles. That's right, almost 100 different key sets for 15 across those 15 bell packs. It's just, what do we need on the day?
I got a question, John.
Yep.
I'm interrupting.
Yep. Go.
So from YouTube, we have a question around how do we trunk intercom frames?
Okay. There are a number of ways we can do it at the moment. I'd probably do it over IP at the moment, off of our IP card. Just allocate a number of frame-to-frame trunks, assuming the frame on the far side also has an IP trunk, IP card. Fastest, simplest. Add as many as you can, but be careful. Things like IFBs actually become static and lock up those trunks. So you can use up trunks really, really quickly. So you end up probably needing as many as eight lines both ways to actually be fairly useful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before you continue on, John, how much more intercom stuff do you have? Because I have a question in a different topic. Do you want to finish off your intercom bit?
I got a bit more to go.
Okay, so you go ahead and we'll finish off your intercom.
I got a bit more to go.
We'll take some more questions.
All right. Basically, here's the stats on what we ended up with. So, as I said, we've got like 97 different free speak roles, 50 party lines, 72 IFBs, 149 fixed groups, 170 active route paths, 254 GPIO and logic controls are all getting used. An astounding 15,540 various key latches and blocked listens and key call enables across in our current state. But we're still only 34% of our capacity, even with all of that. We scratched the surface for all of that.
Very cool. I know that we had a question from Jonathan. He was asking about beefing up home internet connections and whether or not we were sending out any packages to remote presenters. So a lot of the corporate work that we're doing is with corporations that already have service providers like Cisco WebEx or MS Teams. So we're dealing with corporations that only are allowed to use certain providers. So we're dealing a lot with limited bandwidth anyway. So whatever, WebEx is crunched to 720 and Teams is a little better. But internet isn't often a problem these days, considering for a standard WebEx connection, you probably only need, a couple of meg connections. So you can typically get that from home users. That being said, we've still sent out even cellular devices to remote viewers or remote presenters who don't have a stable connection. Sometimes cellular is even better than home internet. But typically, it's been pretty good on home internet connections. What we're trying to do is get presenters to beef up their cameras and their audio. It's been a battle from day one. Cameras on laptops are horrible. They can't get their laptop audio figured out. They can't get earbuds figured out. They can't get, so hardware's been a huge issue. And because we're dealing with corporations with lockdown devices, they have a laptop that they have to use, and you can't plug in, external devices. So it's been a real problem for sure. We've been pushing to get better, like I said, better external cameras and just completely outside of their network. So a laptop for a corporation that has to be connected to their VPN is a problem. What we're trying to do is send out devices like an iPad Pro that can be connected without going through their VPN, and that's kind of our target goal. I think that kind of answers the question around software and hardware for remote connection. Anthony, did you have I think there was a question, Anthony, that you had? Maybe, Anthony? Back on the...
Oh man, I always got tens of millions of questions. My whole thing, you've got the background going on. You've got a stage, you've got foldbacks, you've got in-ear monitors. What are some of the types of setups that you've seen on this stage, and what like I see the potential of this blank canvas, but what have some of your customers and clients come to you and said, this is my vision, and you go, okay.
Yeah, there's been a lot of demand for putting kind of virtual connections up on the video wall. So we've had facilitators turn around and basically look at the video wall at their audience, right? So that's a big demand. So we'll put either 4 or 6 panelists up on a video wall and have somebody sit down here on stage and actually talk to those virtual connections. We've used it for obviously any kind of virtual background, virtual presenters, panel discussions, audience. We can put a complete like a Zoom, 50 people in a Zoom call up on screen. I don't know, Kevin, have we any other kind of shows you've seen in here that have been different?
Just trying. Yeah, I guess we've done the same thing with virtual presenters. Feed them up on the wall so there's interaction. Was that it? Monitors on the stage. Yeah, doing monitors instead of done green screen.
Yeah, it's a good point, because we have the not only this sound stage, but we have a second sound stage, which is sort of like I was talking about earlier, kind of our black box space, and that's where we often do green screen recordings. So we just finished off one yesterday. Had a doctor come in, do a 20-minute presentation. It was recorded, sent to the UK, to their studio, and sent out as a broadcast out of the UK. So kind of an interesting point, because we're part of an alliance called the AV Alliance, which is a global kind of group of like-minded AV companies, and we're doing a lot of events now where we're linking multiple cities around the world, and using either our control rooms or control rooms around the world as the hub for switching. So kind of an interesting kind of scenario. Anthony, anything else?
Oh man, like I say, I could totally go forever. But like I say, in the chat, one of the things we did and we attempted to do is to have like a side meeting going on. So we have a private link for members to join. I don't know if the email blast went out in time, but I see James is online there, and we've got Kevin from your team, and we've got like a side kind of like a chat room, or not so much a chat room, but like a holding tank of people. How important has it been because you're not because I can't see John's smile, I can't see your smile when you come to me and say, here's your microphone, here's a cup of coffee, can I get you anything? You know, like there's definitely like I want to call it a butler aspect to communicating and making television that is a very human thing. How have you changed that? How have you changed? Like, how has that changed you, and how has that changed some of your staff? And were they new skills that they had to acquire?
Yeah. Okay, let me run with this one.
No, I got.
Come on.
No, well, I will just say that we've got we call them our ingest guys. So there's people like Andrew Davey, who is handling today's event. We got Kevin Staye, who's actually running camera today, but he's one of our ingest guys. Tian is another ingest person. And those guys and girls have just been phenomenal when it comes to hosting the green room. So just before an event starts, all these presenters are coming in one at a time, or 5 or 6 at a time, and those guys have to make sure that everybody is comfortable, that they got the camera at the right spot, they've got their audio connected, and those people are their first point of contact. And I can tell you that we've had more compliments about those people and the way they treat the presenters. You know, usually it's the A2, right? It's the guy backstage putting a mic on, and now it's our ingest. Now it's our ingest person, and they do.
It's I2, or is it a N1? Are they N1s or N2s?
Yeah, exactly. I1s, I2s. I don't know. Good point. So yeah, no, they do an amazing job at that, and it's one of the reasons we get people coming back.
One of the things when I was in the holding tank, I'm going to call it holding tank. You call it green room. You know, like the pool, the talent pool. I love the talent. Let's call it the talent pool. Come on, everybody wants to get in the talent pool. Yeah. So when I was in there, I'm in my own conversation, I'm in my own separate Zoom conversation. How do you bridge the gap between me and Ross without creating that feedback, without managing the slapness of the fourth dimensional problem that is professional audio now, with such great distances between people?
Well, I'll do the simplified version of it, but basically, and I'll let John or Kevin kind of talk further, but what I mentioned earlier was that every connection into our studio is a separate connection with each presenter. So, you know, you're a separate connection, Ross is a separate connection. They're all individual connections, and they're all networked through a matrix where Kevin or whoever the ingest person is can talk to everybody individually, and then even patch them in together to talk to each other. So even during a live broadcast, if somebody is up doing a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, Kevin or Andrew or whoever can patch together a separate group of people so that they can talk about their next segment. So let's say, for instance, you know, you got Kim Parley, she's up talking about something in this breaking news. We can actually put 4 or 5 people together separately behind the scenes so they can talk about breaking news. Or we can talk to them to say, hey, listen, we just lost a connection. We're going to move on to Joe to handle the next section. But basically, it's all handled on the back end. John, Kevin, I don't know, you guys can talk more about the hardware to make all that happen.
So Kevin, can you pull up that dynamic? It's actually right where we want to talk about. Basically, earlier this year, we bought into and installed these stations with our ingest personnel. Dynamic, it's basically a piece of software that allows you to directly, show by show, moment by moment, personalize the keys. Talk to all of your ingest people as you would normally, because they're all IFBs. You can talk to them all at once, listen to them individually, but as well, you can also customize their names, customize the IFBs, customize the party lines. You can add presenters virtually to party lines into a green room. There are these virtual party lines. Part of those 50 party lines I have here are a whole bunch of these virtual party lines that we add groups of presenters. So say 2 or 3 want to chat amongst themselves while somebody else is on air. And then we have a whole other group that are coming in underneath them. And oh, hey, these 3 want to chat. And we have a producer and a moderator for this first group and another moderator for the second group. And they all have their chats while the show is still going on. So it's all about providing these extra services to them. As we can say, we can add, it's control and deployment now. So the last thing we can do to really key this up is key groups. So this is on our panels. We actually can deploy out these dynamic targets where from moment to moment we can change what is on a stage manager or a producer or even a free speak bell pack. Again, I mentioned the moderators. We can have these several moderators, and as the show progresses, it's actually the keys that are needed for the stage manager actually move themselves, change themselves right there in front of the stage manager for them to use.
Shift change? Is that what it is? Do you get a shift change? And
it's a well, it's called a key group. Kevin, can you pull up the dynamic video and let us show that one?
You just got to say on screen. Isn't that how it works in the future? Like on screen.
Oh. So basically, what we can do, these are the aliases that we drop in on the IFBs, and the keys instantly change everywhere they are. We drop them on the party lines. Those are our virtual party. We made that one a green room. We can drop as many of the presenters as we like, whoever we want, straight into that party. Now they're all chatting amongst themselves.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing. But it's also like, you're just changing FPGAs like a crazy amount of data horsepower being. But so earlier you said you attempted to do some of this with like a software, like a Windows sound card or a sound card type of thing. What were some of the things that prevented you from really pushing that direction and having to go to something that's hardware based, something that is FPGA based, something that is like a real-time audio system, right? You came back to you said you got to go as close to physical hardwire as possible for the delays.
Analog panels, low latency. Yeah, I mean, we started out. We realized the room. So the people who are all in the same room. The IP transport through switches, through the frame, all the way back through the switch to your people, and they're in the same room. They're hearing it acoustically from the person who's like 6 COVID spaced away from them. But the analog was in real time. It's 4-wire audio, faster than light can get around the world, sort of thing. So it's we tried out a few scenarios. Even our stage manager was in a separate booth, and we tried. Okay, well that can be IP. well, we ended up back at analog just to keep the latency down, keep program sound in time.
Yes.
Because program sound is distributed with all these panels as well. So
that's right. Yes, and if that's delayed someplace, then it's going to get refed in someplace else, delayed, and blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
Vicious cycle.
Oh, absolutely. So let me just see where we are.
Well, I'll interrupt you, John, because there's a question here from Jonathan again, just talking about our build-up. He was asking whether we did kind of a more physical gear or did we use more SAS type services like NDI and Bird Dog Cloud. I'm not sure what Bird Dog Cloud is. So.
We actually stayed away from cloud as much as possible, keeping it on-premise. There's that on-prem that our clients like to use and we all laugh at about. But yeah, from almost a security standpoint, it was better for us to keep it here, keep it in our hands, know where it is. The costs for cloud services are coming down, but you're paying by the hour.
Right.
And some of it, sometimes it's hours and hours and hours of rehearsal, and but you're not really getting paid for many of those hours. Right. So. Yeah, it wasn't a terrible thought of migration for us, or a big step.
Right.
We build backstage, so it wasn't too hard for us to build here.
How important was it to have like you say, a sandbox environment and like a lab? I imagine you folks kind of maybe have some prototypes, someplace in the back room. You guys both, you don't normally dress in a suit. But
yeah,
it's uncomfortable. Like seriously, you're hauling wires through a building and making things happen. It's uncomfortable wearing a suit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Kevin and I both have an office which looks like an utter disaster zone. We have got labs that we're sort of building out the next big thing, the next thing we want to do. I mean, this Dynamics software was a good example. We built that out in our offices, tried it out, and thought, okay, is this going to work? Is it good? Then I tried it in control room 1. Okay, is this going to work? Is this useful? And we got back such rave reviews from the clients who were able to just all talk amongst themselves, and then the ease of understanding. I mean, those, having programmed the RTS Atom frames, you use every acronym you possibly can with 4 letters. Here I've got 10. Yeah. But I still have to use acronyms and symbols, and my naming is horrific on the underside.
Do they have emoji support? I'm waiting for emoji support on everything. I just want emojis to go.
Well, I don't know. Let me find out. They've got 9 to 10 languages. One of them may be emojis. I'm gonna have to ask. Wingdings.
There is an emoji consortium. So if you want to suggest like an emoji, you can actually suggest emojis. So
great.
I'm working on a standard. That's emoji.
Now, how do you call that? Oh, just use the key that's got the smiley face.
Oh, well, or you just use the microphone emoji or the volume knob emoji.
There we go.
Or the play emoji, right? Now you're talking.
Right.
Well, I again, we wanted to keep this because this is a live event, and we understand, why is live TV so hard to do compared to pre-recorded, and why do people take for granted, production value and standards have gone up in terms of this, why do people have a hard time understanding, the value of, a quality live production compared to something that's in the can?
Yeah. Oh, this is Bryce. This has got Bryce all over it.
Yeah, sure. I mean, there's a huge combination of events that we're doing. We're doing pre-recorded events. We're doing live events. We're doing these kind of simu-live events where we're doing some pre-recorded, some live. And I think the biggest desire is to make sure that the audience is engaged in that presentation. And if you hit play on a videotape, you're not going to get that engagement. So most of the events that we're doing are there's some sort of audience interaction. So whether it's polls or Q&A, you know, there's always more traction on an event if there's audience participation and engagement, which is why
this is true.
I started off by saying make sure you send in your questions, because if John was just to sit here all night and with PowerPoint slides and numbers, we would all die. So
yeah. I get that. I get that too. You know, I did a 3-hour presentation on noise. If you want to listen to 3 hours of noise with Bill Whitlock and Rick Chen from Tapco, and I had it was a great conference. 3 hours of talking about noise. So we can run for way over an hour. That's a no. But you said audience engagement, and you know you've got a sponsor. You've had one of your colleagues come in. You've had some of your colleagues. You've had to grow your networking skills. Like John said, you know, like you as a business owner, you've gone from, you know, analog to digital to Maddie, and now it's just this network evolution. Can you tell us what it's like to enter that networked everything evolution?
Well, I can tell you that it's cost a lot of money, yes. And it keeps, you know, the budgets keep saying, hey, John, what's this other $150,000 for?
Yeah. Well, what's $150,000?
What's another $150,000? No, but it's. I'm on the outside of the network sphere in terms of education. I mean, I know that we have one, and I know it's big, and I know it does a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And I can certainly appreciate the value of what it has accomplished for our customers and our producers and our clients.
Right.
Just everything we've talked about tonight about the virtual green rooms and being able to talk to people individually, that you couldn't do that on an analog basis. So the network aspect of this has just been massive, and it's been a selling feature for our company. We've been able to go out to our customers and saying we are and have one of the most robust network fabrics infrastructures in the city. Not only is it massive in terms of capabilities, but it's fully redundant and, you know, built-in failovers. So from a selling point of view, it's been phenomenal, and we have customers coming back because of it.
I think it's important to have, you know, like the nines, like you say, redundancy and security. Your clientele, our clientele. Hey, look, one of your clients is AES, for Christ. You know, it's just like, well, I shouldn't have said that. No, you know, but it's like, you know, like it's you know, and we're coming here, and you deal with a lot of hotels, you do a lot of high-end clientele, you do a lot of presentations, etc. You know, these weren't skills that your employees had previously. As an employer, what you know, your job force shrank because you're not moving things. Like I'll speak to that as an obvious. You've got more people inside your building, but their skill level has shot up. What has it been like dealing with the people involved in making this pivot for your company?
You know, it's been, I mean, we're fortunate that John and Kevin, we have guys like that who have been with us. John actually is fairly recent to StageVision as of a couple of years ago. He was brought on mostly as our wireless guru, but through partnerships with Rydell, who have been absolutely amazing through this transition. John has, you know, and Kevin have both learned a lot through those partners, and it's huge to have them on board to, you know, bring not only John and Kevin, but the rest of the team up on their networking skills. So the whole NDI thing and the agent IC and the intercom, and I mean, obviously that's all IP based.
Right. But it's not going away. You know, like you say, the investment, your setup times in the future will go down, but your programming investment will go up unless you pre-stage it. So you know, they're like, you're not setting up so much wire, but it's different wire in another way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a part of our business that we're just sort of starting to, you know, we've all been kind of wondering what's next, right? We know we're going back to live, but what's the hybrid going to be? Is the hybrid going to be sort of we're back to live and all we're doing is we're broadcasting a signal out to some remote audience, or is hybrid going to be sort of this an environment where it's, you know, a live audience with virtual connections? You know, or how do you handle breakout rooms? You know, do we have a typical breakout room where maybe 1 or 2 people are remote? So there's no simple answer to what's next. And I think what's kind of saved us even through this year has been the ability to be really flexible and sort of adapt to changing requirements and needs. And I think it's going to be even harder for us to make that transition to live and hybrid, because we don't really know when and how that's going to happen. We have good ideas and we're anticipating it, but our operations team is freaking out trying to figure out, you know, how first we're going to staff it and then how we're going to manage the hardware transition.
No, and that's the other thing, and like you say, it will be a transition. No matter what it will be, there will be some kind of hybrid between it, and I think, you know, maybe the norm is now that we. You know, teleport, right? We're teleporting ourselves. You guys are live teleported. You know, your high-end hotel clientele, not that you can talk about anything about that, but are there chains that are starting to connect conference rooms to conference rooms and venues to venues? What are some of the futures and maybe predictions that you've seen in that, you know, room to room type of connection?
You know, it's already happening. We're at the Sheraton in Montreal, and they're already linking rooms together. I'm a bit of a, I guess, outlier on that sort of event. I don't, for sure, I see a city to city connection. So where you know, maybe head office in Toronto is doing an event and they're bringing in Calgary and Edmonton and Vancouver and Halifax, right? And we bring everybody in together into one central broadcast. But the idea for me anyway, and like I said, I could be wrong in all of this. I don't really see my high-end corporate clients going to a hotel and putting 5 people in each meeting room and calling that a live event. I think for me, a live event is when you can sit down in a ballroom with 1,000 people, do a big gala celebration, hugs, kisses on stage, and, you know, that to me is what live is. It's not 5 people.
We're
in a
getting
room.
there. We're not there yet. You know, I think I think it will be an uncomfortable Canada Day bumpy ride, you know, over the next little while here. And even the AES, we struggle with how do we, you know, bring ourselves back to you know, having an in-person event. So nobody knows. You're right. You know, crystal ball. We've got a crystal ball. So, you know, nobody's got the crystal ball. So it's one of those things.
I do know that I have events planned for the spring of next year. That's about as much as I can go. I know that my clients are looking at sending their employees back to the office in September on a rotation basis. So like maybe 2 or 3 times a week you go into the office. That's going to transition out through the end of December, I think, where that rotation increases until maybe January when we're fully back into a workplace. And then once that happens, I think the doors are open to full-on live events. And more resumes, please, because I think it's going to be insane. I think the entire industry is going to be really, really challenged with staffing. So. We've lost a lot of people. Is it
just physical people moving things, or is it high skilled people, or a bit of both? A combination of everybody. Awareness.
It'll be everybody. I mean, I think the local labor pools. I think Snaphook is kind of committed to keeping people around. There's other labor pools which have just said nobody's around. A lot of people have just left the industry. StageVision's been pretty fortunate in that we've kept a core group of guys, But that core group of guys is they're working our control rooms, and as soon as we go back to live, we're going to be short.
Right. So what skills do you hope, hundreds of people accidentally acquired during the pandemic here? I've gotten pretty good at the home audio and the home video and the home lighting and I know a lot of musicians who have green screens at home. What skills do you hope that, your potential talent pool have acquired during this time away from?
Yeah, I mean, when this happened, and like the first thing that I said back in like July of last year was learn vMix, and that is still going to be, for us, is still going to be a huge demand, because we're going to keep our control rooms running through all of the fall and into the new year, and we'll probably maybe dismantle one, maybe two of them in the spring of next year. But that demand to have vMix operators in a live situation is going to be there. Like, we're going to need vMix operators on site. So, it's a big part of it.
So vMix, the audio is the hardest part of video. That's what I like to tell everyone, because
it's true.
John, I heard you laughing. Maybe Bryce, thank you. You've been amazing. Amazing talk on that. I want to ask John some technical questions.
All right, have at it.
So this is an AES thing. Like I say, video. Why is video and audio so hard? We got time synchronization, we've got fourth dimensional problems, you got wire, you got fibers, you got new kinds of networking. Why is audio the hardest part of video production?
Oh, Kevin's going to yell at me because he's the video. But
oh, no, I'll come back to that.
But I agree. We're dealing with multiple. We have to do the latencies and the delay settings on our outputs. We don't have enough outputs. We now have to send more places than we ever had to send before, and more different mixes of things to more places than we've ever had to send before. We have to capture more independent sources that are coming in at different times, and now have to go through, on the video side, multiple different assembly chains.
Right.
So, I mean, video stream number one has that one series of devices and blocks that have all been assembled together like Lego. Well, assembly chain number two has 3 times that number. And now we've got, but they somehow have to match up at the far end.
So for people who, I'm not a video person by nature. I've had to learn it. They said video aux. I'm like, what's a video aux? And they laughed at me at the corporation. They're like, you're really an audio guy, aren't you? I'm like, you have auxes too?
Yeah.
So you've talked about these video processors, and you're saying they introduce different delays. So when is okay? So then maybe this is a Kevin question. So if I receive something from your camera that's in the studio and something that's from the Zoom call, there's going to be those delays, and you're making an effort to eliminate them. What kind of tricks have you done to eliminate those things other than the analog in the control room, which is really true. It's very, very true. Talk about delays, Kevin.
Believe it or not, unfortunately, especially with video, you're going to get, in this type of scenario, you're going to get a lot of video latency. It is unfortunate. For example, when we're doing a broadcast stream, the other thing that seems to happen, especially when you're using things like Teams and stuff, the audio and the video actually transport separately. This way, if you lose your video, which takes way more bandwidth, you still have audio, which is fine, because you can still have a meeting with audio. I mean, I'll be the first to say, if there's no picture but you can still hear them, you can still have a meeting. So So we've actually, in going to NDI, we've actually got rid of a lot of latency, believe it or not, and using Dante. The conversion process for video capture is still, especially like if you're not using a hardware specifically designed for it, is still sluggish. Like if you're using like, Blackmagic capture cards or Match Wells or any of those things, they tend to introduce more latency than say NDI screen capture does. At least that's what I've found. But also then again, it still depends on the hardware that you're using as well. If you're using like a Chromebook to do it, you're not going to have much luck. You still need a fair machine.
So on that note, like now that you're doing both video and audio processing in some of these vMix things, like you're passing off of, like almost like a package, like a synchronized stream in vMix, or are you guys completely separate? Like is audio and video completely separate and then time aligned, or are you actually making video on audio decisions through your Vision mixer?
Typically, actually, everything does go to the console. There has been times when we have had to make changes. Sometimes, most of the time, we will try to do it through the audio console because it just has better processing in order to add delay on a specific channel versus a global delay. But I can probably get a greater delay setting in the Vision mixer than I can on an audio console. Because the audio console was never designed to do this originally. Like, this is still new. I mean, it was designed to do concerts and stuff and have delay in that respect, like for your main outs for stack delays. But for this kind of application, and doing individual channels to individual different things, and then you still fight it. You can still be fighting it.
Yeah, you said you had Soundcrafts. I thought the Soundcraft VI6 in that series had like a micro align delay per channel.
It does on the independent channels. It's not much, and we have had experiences, especially once people start bringing in media servers. So now you're chaining from a media server to a Vision mixer. Yet there's still somebody in the studio going into a mic. That's completely just going through an audio console because everything else has to be mixed in there. In theory, yes. Could I do it in all in vMix? Yes. Do I want to? No. I would rather have somebody specifically trained in audio to be making those decisions, to be making those decisions. And then if I have to augment it, I will. But I truly try not to.
That brings up the point of intercom systems, and they're quite frankly a luxurious item in terms of broad. like really, come on, like, hey, I'm right at my fingertip. I'm sitting at a mixing console right now. Like, they're a luxury item when it comes to broadcast engineering. Can you maybe talk a little bit more of like the importance of like, maybe John can speak to this, is just like why is it so important to have so many outputs and so many inputs? Like you talked about, if you have more outputs than you have inputs, you're not mixing, you're matrixing. So you're doing a lot of matrixing. Can you dive a little bit deeper into that and why it's just why the complexity is just so much squared compared to that of like a typical live show?
Now, especially with the
Kev.
I'll
Go,
Kev. Yeah, well, I'm just adding in sort of the idea, because now, especially with we're running into a lot of things where we have to add inclusion for people who have hearing loss and all sorts of things, right? So closed captioning. So now you're also separate languages. So now I have one. I may have one broadcast feed out, but now we're having interpreters involved. So now you got to send feeds to interpreters who may be here on site. They may be here. They may be actually be coming in through a Zoom call. That's really big right now. All the translators, they're just coming in and just, I'm on my Zoom meeting, and they click and select the language. But still, all these things need to be
in one ear, out the mouth.
Yeah. So all these things need to be attached to the streams. So, like I said, I may have one video feed out, but that video feed's got to get tied to like now 6 different other audio feeds. Plus, now we have to we're working on getting in EIA 608, 708 for captioning, and to get that time aligned, because right now I can tell you that. From the moment I speak to the time the viewers see this on YouTube, we're probably about 10 to 20 seconds. So at what point do you get a captioner to watch that? Because when they type that stuff, sometimes if it's not tied to the video stream, it's tied to a little window, but that'll show up real time. So therefore now you're having words show up like 20 seconds before somebody's speaking, which gets really weird.
Right. Yes, but when you can see the future before it happens on a live event, and you're like, well, this is a live future state.
I'm taking this to Vegas. Yeah, so there's now the amount of mixed minuses we have to have, like on this event alone, we probably have like 6 or 8, let alone plus if we have more VMRs going, like every input's like a mixed minus. So now that really starts chewing up stuff.
That's right. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. It's like, the most important, like the best mixing console of 2021 would have a talkback button on every channel.
Yeah, pretty much. Now let's say implementing. Now we have our COM implemented with with Dante into the console. Like we can make stuff go anywhere. Like I have a button here. I could press that and talk over my COM instead of the mic I'm on.
Yeah.
I just like the mic. It makes me look nice. I'm trying to make the.
I get it. No, I get it. Yeah, well, but it's also and John, hopefully we can come back to that intercom question. But my curiosity is also at the stroke of a key, you can also take everything out. So have you had like catastrophic failure in a live show, is one thing, but catastrophic failure on a like a live event like this, you can cover for it. Have there been some new ways of failing things, or like have you had any of your users do something just absolutely bizarre that you've never seen before in your experience with in the video AV industry?
We've seen some bizarre things because when people think they don't see themselves on air, they think their cameras are off, but yet we still see them.
Right.
There's been some things I can't unfortunately mention on anything live, but
it's just a bunch of nose picking and probably some bathroom shots.
Maybe not quite like the gentleman who was with the cockpit the other day. Not quite as far as that, but we have seen pretty close. And other things that it can get pretty exciting, and every once in a while you have to remind them that.
You could be hot at any moment, so watch yourself. So event and tally, right? So one of the things that I obsess over is event and tally, just because it's like right now I have a feedback of my video coming back to me. But I don't have any cues or like visual cues that come up. Have you had to work with, like you say, like the tally indication light that, hey, you're on air right now, or anything of that sort? Is that just needless complexity, or is that something that some of your users could benefit from?
We do use it, actually, believe it or not. I mean, all our cameras in here typically have tally. Typically, what we've done when we're sending back something back to the presenter.
Oh wow, there it is.
Yeah. But if you're on a laptop and your virtual presenter, it's somewhere else on Teams or something. You don't have that. So typically, what we do is we'll actually we have like we've put a faint red outline of a red box around them. So you say, when you see this little red box, you are live, and they go okay, and then they come, then they after the show, they tell you that they didn't have the application full screen, so they never saw it, and they only saw half their little clock we put in a corner. And
totally. So that's what I just pointed at there. In my user experience, I am seeing a countdown clock that is personalized to my feed. So they're giving me an event and a tally countdown that says 26, 24 yet. So we'll wrap this up in 20 minutes. That shouldn't be a problem.
I think that was seconds.
No, that was seconds? No.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, Kevin, go for it.
Yeah, and that's, like I said, this is kind of one experience we like to offer to our clients. And I mean, you'll always have to remember, especially in our industry, is that we work with people who are not professional talent. So you have to choose your language carefully in how you speak to them.
Yes.
To give them very, very easy instructions. There are challenges, like we ran it, like there's been people who've been doing this for well over a year. People say, oh, I know everything about how it is to run a meeting. And even just the other day, someone's like, my life is a lie. You guys just showed me something that I never knew was there, but I told everybody that I knew exactly how to do everything. So we still get it, and we'll still get it for a while, which is, it's just, it's all on how much people really want to get into this. I mean, everyone's getting tired of doing this in certain respects. I mean, everyone wants to get out of their chair and see people. But
Well, and that's, I think we're all in the same boat on that. But I think the video production, quality has gone up, and there's an expectation that it's going to be part of everything moving forward, I think, or it's going to be a value add, or no conference will be complete without the value add that is this side package. So I think, to your point, it's more inclusive, right? I don't know, I'm looking at the YouTube chat here, and I haven't seen any questions pop up here in a little bit, but at the same time, like it's one of the most engaging platforms that we've had. More important than the Gutenberg press is this YouTube thing and this internet thing. So we're bound to be tied to that revolution. I want to come back to Kevin. Thank you. I want to come back to John, and I want to ask that question again about the intercom and the luxury that is the intercom, and the luxury that is like having
Matrix
the power of
party line.
Yeah, well, there's that, but it's also like there's this magical power of being able to like push a button and magically talk into somebody's ear without anybody else knowing they've done that.
Point to point.
Yeah, and point to point and party line. So what kind of techniques and what kind of varieties of intercom tricks did you have to employ in this build out?
Oh, first thing, I have a ideological nature that I will not let eavesdropping occur in my house. So I do not let anybody listen in to somebody else's conferencing. So they can all talk, and they're forcing themselves into everybody else's ear when we're doing point-to-points from, it doesn't matter if it's the agent ICs or panels, or what the resource is. Point-to-points are just a talk. That I do not want people to just eavesdrop in on what other people's conversations will be. It's just a level of integrity and isolation I want from that. I mean, if you want to talk to a bunch of people, you use a party line. You talk on the party lines. I've got plenty of them. You pick one, whichever you'd like, and you can go talk on that.
Did you do it by studio? Do you do it by studio? Do you do it by production now that you have this granularity?
As a matter of fact, every single control room has 10 to 15 different party lines per control room. There are some that are a little more global. I mean, the lighting. I only added the lighting party line last week. Sorry, lighting people, but we haven't needed a lighting party line until last week. But the first two party lines for every control room were the main production line and a technical private, the SV private, on the backside. Those were those two wet party lines, and they instantly went into use. And by creating what we call SV private, it's our isolated technical private that doesn't go to the producer, doesn't go to the client, it doesn't go to the stage manager. It's the technicians behind the scenes fixing problems or solving issues that become invisible. I don't want those out there where the client can hear. I just want to give them that.
It's off speakers. It's only in ears, and it's a private.
It's exactly right. I mean, it's still a party line, but it is a private party line. And the nice thing with the Matrix is it became just a copy paste from room to room to room.
Right.
Deploy it out 4 times, 6 times, whatever it needed to happen, and keep consistency, so that today Bryce is in control room 3. Tomorrow he'll be in 4. The day after that he'll be in 1. Yeah. The experience needs to be the same for all of our people, no matter what room they go into.
It goes back to your point about naming. With naming something is the hardest thing to do, I find, in broadcast.
Oh yes.
Especially
if you only have 4 characters.
Especially if you only have 4 characters. Yes, like classic intercoms.
Yeah.
But with that, did you standard like those pools and those party lines? Like that's all just like standard names. Like you said, you had 10 characters. Do you have colors on that frame, or is it?
We haven't. That's a sort of one of our next step migrations is to deploy out colors. I mean, some of the keys have some coloration based on IFB versus telephone versus party line, the talk keys. But in general, yeah, I've got some coding. I've got some little symbols I use. For example, if there's asterisks. I use asterisks stuck somewhere in the code for that party line, because I see an asterisk as being a bunch of lines that all come into a central point.
Cool. Yeah, right. So
port,
it's star part line.
Yeah. A port is just simply a hyphen, because it's a line that comes it's like a wire.
The problem is nobody else knows what those mean except for you.
No, I know. None of the rest of you do.
I totally visualize it now. But the problem with naming it's like there's 2 problems in computer engineering. It's a caching error, naming things, and off by ones.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, I actually didn't do it so much for the staff as I did it for myself. I have to pull and deploy the right asset to the right key in the right room. Right. So you say, hey, I want this on this belt pack. Yeah. I have to find the right this to go on that belt pack.
Right. Is it self-documenting tools? Like, are the tools self-documenting? Are the tools like you got all those Dante devices on your network?
Right.
They're self-identifying. How important is it to have clarity in that self-identification of devices now that thousands of them or hundreds of them go onto the network?
I actually had the choice to integrate. I thought very hard about actually utilizing that self-identification, pulling in the IDs from have whatever I write in on the Dante in that metadata traveling on Dante, and actually have it propagate through to the ports. But it actually, at the end of it all, I ended up not.
Right.
It's because the name I necessarily want to use in the intercom is different than what it actually is within the audio realm. What is it?
Right.
And honestly, I have more than 10 characters in the audio Dante realm to play with. I can be far more specific.
Just I'm not a Dante expert but I'm on I'm more into the AES 67 side of things. But my curiosity about that is, and you said something. So do the channel names propagate within a Dante stream, or is it just the device name? Are the individual channels
the channel names will actually propagate?
Channel.
Yep.
And they distribute through SAP announcemे through the network, and they're visible. They're visible.
Yeah.
There.
So I had the option within the matrix on these cards, the eDante 64 cards in the frame. I could. It was a checkbox. If I wanted, I could actually have all those Dante names. I'd only do it in Dante controller, and then the name would propagate through to the frame and appear on the keys. If it was a direct utilization. And it's actually really, really great. In some applications, I've done sort lists where I have a list of audio things that I want to be able to sort through and grab and scroll through a list of things I want to listen to, and they all come off Dante sources. That is a great way to do it, because you get, okay, which channel is it? Oh, there it is. And all you have to do is change it over in Dante, and it propagates itself through. And you're listening from any intercom panel you want. So
yeah, and that's the luxury of the intercom panels. From home, the home gamer, doesn't have the luxury of
true
of a party line, or the concept of a party line where where it's been the norm in broadcast. But in your live shows, you would never have scaled your intercom to this kind of complexity in your previous live shows, or was this a normal?
No, that's actually not true.
Intercom?
I mean, as soon as we got in the high, mid to large shows we did, actually almost for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
When TD...
OpenText.
OpenText and TD SMGs of 2005, 2006.
Yeah.
We were actually, we started deploying out digital matrix into corporate AV. And the first thing it fixed is ground loops. Is the ground humps from
grounding
COM.
and shielding sucks.
Yeah.
It totally sucks.
And you just instantly isolate that.
That's super cool. Okay, so previously a lot of intercoms were this 4-wire system, and they were connected through copper, and you say sorry, you said the G word, so I'm totally into this. See our previous 3
Here we go. This just added an hour.
No. But the
Bryce is
noise
smirking
from
over here.
intercoms and communications, like there's nothing worse than an unclear path of communications to the person you need to deal with.
Right.
So just saying alone that the ground noises, because that's what killed so many intercom systems in the past.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been commissioned to provide matrix systems to clients specifically to get rid of noise floor, get rid of ground buzz, and because of health and safety. It actually became it went all the way to the Health and Safety Council. There were complaints and lodged within unions that it was unsafe and that people had lost hearing after years and years of hearing hiss in their headset. And
wow.
And a budget appeared, lo and behold, to eliminate the noise. And the first thing I did was throw a small matrix frame in, break the bounds with IP links and matrix 4-wire, and get rid of all the old wet party line and grounding buzzes, and instantly it fixed.
Let me interrupt you there.
Go.
Wet party lines. Okay, so this is a concept maybe some folks are not completely
all right,
familiar with or comfortable with. But what is a wet party line, and why should we avoid using these wet party lines in the future? And what kind of like logical thing has replaced the concept of wet party line if it's all digital now?
Okay, so wet party line. Wet refers to the 30 volts of DC running down a cable. It's unbalanced typically, regardless of whether it's single channel or dual channel. It's an unbalanced with no shielding, no protection. The interference just goes straight in there, crosstalk. The longer your line,
it's not an AES standard.
It's not an AES standard.
It's not an AES standard.
No, it is not.
So what you're telling me is this non-AES standard that connects with a XLR connector, which is an AES standard.
Yeah.
Is just a magnet for terrible performance.
Correct. I mean, 4-wires are nice, even though it's often unbalanced. It is still a better step up. Is line level. It's a balanced pair of conductors going down back and forth. You're usually breaking the ground in most of those cases.
Yes.
So that's a nice step up from this wet party line. What do we use now? Okay, we're taking this into typically my next step up would be things like HelixNet or IP-based party lines. If you want to stay within the conferences, these simple conferences, LQ boxes, there are a lot of products on the market that are just Studio Technologies, Glen Sound. They're all making these wonderful intercom over IP, box-to-box, peer-to-peer solution that break that grounding. That the signal to noise is impeccable, and you now have operators who don't have to sit for hours with an unbelievable 80 dB noise hiss in their ear.
Right.
Or worse.
And some people who may not be, they may not be they may think that's the normal, right? And they don't say anything about it, and that's how you get hearing damage, perpetual hearing damage. I get that. Well, you guys have been so gracious to arrange a sponsor, a door prize, courtesy of our meeting. Redel, it's not Redel like the intercom. It's
Ardell.
Ardell.
It's not Riedel.
So
it's Ardell.
It's not Riedel. To give us away this Clearcom thing, and as we talk about RTS frames and Wardbeck systems, intercoms with huge grounding problems, but at the same time, so in the YouTube chat thing, so somebody's going to post. There's going to be the Toronto AES is going to post a link here. So to anybody who want, look at this, man, I love this. This is like a real TV. Can we get a product shot? Can we get that thing rotating?
Oh, easy there.
Oh,
easy there, Vanna.
See, this is live television. Look at this. Look at that camera shot too. Look at the zoom out and everything. So
that's just mean.
In the chat, if you go to the TorontoAES.org and you click on StageVision's pandemic pivot, did it go in the chat? Did it? Yeah, it showed up in the chat there. In the YouTube link, there's a little section there where it says submit a comment. And if you submit a comment and the comment says pick me, we'll do a draw, and after Canada Day we'll do a draw, and somebody. So what is this thing? This is a company that you've turned to solve some of your problems.
Right.
There are other vendors in terms of networking supplies. What awareness or what special features to this product and this company appeal to you in your infrastructure build out, John?
Okay.
Not to plug them too much, but at the same time,
no, it's
part of what you do.
They have. So basically, we started out. It was a rough start, and we literally were reinventing and creating trying to create and a viable connection fabric in this building that would get revenue in, jobs. We needed work in this world of camp. So we took what we had on the shelf, and luckily we had enough pieces to get us started. But they were not the right pieces. They were a Band-Aid solution. And we knew they were a Band-Aid solution. So basically, we got ourselves literally stuck together with pieces of sticky tape by September. And around about September, we started exploring and trying to find out what we really wanted. And coming from the live and touring world, we know the worlds of the Luminex, and another one we'd connected with was Convergent Networks, Agora Ghost series. They're touring switches, rugged, heavy-duty switches that we were exploring to go into live events when we come back to live.
Right. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone.
Yeah, but
so there's always that fourth dimensional thinking as well of like, well, when we're done with this, by this way,
exactly,
we can make money with it in the future.
Yeah, and but the Convergent, which are fantastic, the Agora Ghost Switch are a fantastic product. They're limited on port count and fiber count, and so it just would be too cost prohibitive to deploy them out. Not to mention the topology would be, I couldn't do it. To do star topology to limit my switch hops. So we actually talked to the Agora Ghost people, and they actually sent us to Aruba and specified a specific model of Aruba. Hey, John, if you could pull up the slide with the switch on it.
On screen.
John,
on screen.
Yeah, I'm working on it. On screen. Yeah, okay, this isn't Star Trek. But yeah, and what we ended up with were this specific model. It's called 2930M. This is the 24-port version. We ended up with about 6 of them. Just to get us started in September. And
you said these are all PoE because you have
they are
PoE
all PoE
dongles?
Yeah.
Okay,
the Avio adapters are all PoE driven. There's a number of other things that need to be PoE driven. So yeah, the switches needed to be PoE, the PoE versions. But more than that,
are your cameras PoE as well? Or are you doing PoE NDI cameras, or?
Not off of these switches as such. We are doing control from some of our robotic cameras, but there are other devices that are PoE, and it wasn't. I didn't have a huge PoE budget. I'm not doing a whole bunch of these access points all over. I was not deploying out Wi-Fi solutions. I was all copper for the most part, with fiber infrastructure. So it was in September. Aruba actually connected us with Ardell, and basically from August through till late November last year, together we designed through our systems. And here, why don't you bring that up, Kev? This is the process we went through, drawing after drawing, just
iterated
again and again. No, that's not going to work. Oh, wait, how about this? How about that? No, that's not going to work. Wow. And we ended up coming up to the point where we are here, with
super cool.
Essentially 20 switches from core to edge, another 2 for OBM, which is out of band management, and then there are 10 more on the outside to the left of those top 2 firewalls. There are 20 more switches that Kevin gets to use for egress and ISP distribution. There are internet,
yes,
just so that everything gets to enough distributed, unique, possible solutions. And then we have a couple more we simply just throw down from time to time. That's the migration we went through. And Ardell has helped us every step of the way. And they've been part of that education you talked about. We have counted on them to be. I mean, if you, to answer your question, what do I want to see from technicians? Yeah, we need the people to load the trucks and whatnot, but we also need those high-end people. We need people with CCNA, Cisco Certified Network, or the Aruba equivalent would be better, but it's probably pretty rare. We need people with technological knowledge about Teams, Zoom, WebEx.
FaceTime,
all of the
coaching people with problems from far away without being able to see what they're up to, and
life coaches,
how fumbly their fingers are.
That's right. I mean, don't wear that. It's just more the mores. You can't be wearing that. Oh, wait a minute. Where's the sun when you're coming in?
Is that what they call it? They call it a moire. Is that what it calls when the video goes nuts with like a that's called a moire?
That's a moire.
See?
Yeah, I was really worried about my tie.
That's my takeaway word. Yeah.
And this is coming from a not video guy. I had to look it up on Wikipedia. But yeah, if you don't mind, I wouldn't mind throwing over to Kev to go into some of the ISP on the outside. What do we use to protect ourselves?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Security is a huge issue, a huge topic.
Oh boy, yeah, it's and it's been in some cases painful learning experiences. Let me tell you. So we finally went with a system. We use a high accessibility failover system of Barracuda firewalls, which have a great interface. It was a bit of a learning curve, obviously. All of our network infrastructure is actually, maybe I'll throw a little video up here of while I'm chatting. That's the only thing is I have to run the show at the same time. John just gets to sit up there and talk.
No,
I actually have to work.
You guys are doing an amazing job. This is so pro, and here I am, just some schmuck phoning it in from Raw's t-shirt.
And you guys were saying audio was harder than video. Where's my thing there? Where'd I go?
You've done a lot to prepare for this, so I'll talk while you're looking over it. Like, I have to compliment you guys. Like, this is just incredible, the quality and fidelity. So I hope people can appreciate what we got going on here.
Yeah. So for example, this is kind of just a quick little more gear shots, because gear shots are always fun. It's better than just staring just at me.
Yeah.
You can see all the fiber this is all fiber we put in. Brand new tack fiber, all Cat 6A or above cable, just for getting from into that point. We built this rack 4 times, I think, to get it to its current state, and it's still got room for expansion in case we need it, which may happen down the road, depending on how this goes. Those are my firewalls right there. This is the egress rack, which shows a bunch of where we have all our bonding. We have bonding. We have not only do we have failover, but we're also bonding in between fiber and microwave. So there's no drop in the signal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is actually, I think that's our free to air actually on the roof. And then behind there, you'll actually see the 2 microwave dishes we have on the roof. One,
yes.
So basically an air and a spare, which has a failover capability as well. It's a little bit more manual. I think I have to actually go run and plug a cable in. But it's there just in case. Like, but by that point, we're in pretty bad news if we failed on fiber and our main microwave. So but even so, it doesn't take long to fire up. So that's
incredible.
Yeah, it's all
So the microwave link, like the microwave link, that's a very uncommon technical requirement. So you have a private ISP that is giving you microwave link internet connection in addition to, like, is it a Bell line, or is it it's a Bell leased line? Ma Bell is providing that, and then you have a private through microwave. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. We actually
have two Bell fiber lines. What concerned us is that they both go in the same direction terrestrially. So, if someone hits the box in the corner, there's a possibility of everything going out. There's nothing in this area we've been looking that goes in a different direction on underground. So in case one box fails, so that's why we went with a microwave option. We do maintain.
That's a very interesting thought process too. Yeah. That's a good thought process to go through as well too.
Oh yeah, we put a lot of thought into the possibilities of something going wrong, and that was one of the biggest benefits we try to offer our clients is like, okay, so these are the steps of things that happen. If you're internally in each control room, each thing is separately networked compared to a different from each other control room, so no one interferes. There's no a client can't accidentally go on one control room and start seeing stuff and playing around with possibly their competitors' information on another control room. We have to keep that stuff separate. Let alone them trying to just them accidentally bringing something into our building as far as like ransomware. If we get hit with a ransomware attack and everything gets shut down, we can probably limp along by just moving to a new control room. It would take us a bit to get it going, but we could do that. And then it would probably take me approximately, depending on how bad the infection is, probably up to 10 hours to wipe everything and rebuild it. So, I mean, you have to think about that kind of stuff, especially when you're dealing with sometimes sensitive data from the client. It's and then of course they lay other security issues on you. Oh, you can't use this service. You can't use that service. No Dropbox. Well, I need to get a video file from you. It's like, well, I can email it to you. It's like, you're not going to email me a gig, 10 gigs of video. If you could, that'd be awesome. Yes. But no, Then they have their own services, which are very, very limited due to their own security protection, and it has those have been some great challenges.
Have you? When you standardize on Teams, I have a colleague. He's asking me here. There, iPads and FaceTime and all of that. Cross platforms and various different services now. What made you decide one way or another, and what were some of the things that you had to think of when you were ultimately working on this?
Actually, believe it or not, we're pretty agnostic to that. I mean, we're using Teams just because we have 365 in the office, and it's still quite limited to who actually has access to it. But typically, a lot of time, because we'll run to a client who has their own service, like for example, they're only whitelisted. They're like we have clients, their laptop, you power it up, and even if you go into Device Manager, it will not see the camera, but they've configured WebEx to be able to still access it. That's how hardcore some of these guys get.
Right.
So we try to be actually pretty agnostic to it and work more on what works for you best.
Butler.
Yeah.
Butler.
Yeah. It's we use WebEx, we use Zoom, we use Teams. We actually, one of the other ones we use is Video Connect. And each one of those kind of has our preferences to which one we like. Teams was just easiest for us today, just because it was just, it's like, oh, Teams, there you go.
So, here's a Teams link. Exactly that. Exactly that.
And then as far as broadcasting out, as you can see, we broadcast out to anything. We have our own platform we tend to use, but we can do YouTube, Facebook, Hopin, Feedloop, any of the major ones. On 24, we broadcast out to anyone. It doesn't matter to us. Because we want the experience to be best for the client, and it makes it really easy for the client when they go, "Hey, I'm used to this," and you go, "Hey, I can do that."
Familiarity, and that's why we gravitated towards the YouTube. It's kind of like, hey, do you got to teach someone how to use YouTube? No, you don't. You don't need to teach somebody how to use YouTube. They already know.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. Guaranteed they know how. But you give somebody Teams and you say, well, here's your Teams thing. You got to get your camera connected. You get your audio connected. Yeah, it is a tricky thing on that. Wow. Well, geez, you guys keep pulling videos out of nowhere. Have we missed any amazing videos that you guys have pre-prepared for us? Because that tour of the network thing was just like, oh my gosh, how did we almost not sneak that in? What else, you guys?
What are we missing?
Did we miss anything?
What else do I have in here? I can try and find it. Let me.
Which one?
What's that, John?
No, we didn't. Yeah. Do ingest.
Do ingest?
Do ingest.
I thought we.
Yes.
Okay, let's do ingest. This will be. Oh, and I'll stay beside. There you go.
Right. We kind of.
This is the process of.
This is basically.
That's the right one.
You've got someone like Andrew Davey or Kevin Staye or Tian or any of our people basically able to listen to any of our presenters that just or talk to them individually, just talk if you're giving instructions as they go, or just talk to all of them. And as you see, they all flash. And now, okay, do an all call. We're coming up to show.
Cool.
I mean, they're fairly simple on a matrix side to be able to do this, but could never ever consider doing this in anything that wasn't
fixed. Or permanent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll pull up some of those when we previously when we did live events. I'd engineer some of those.
But your skills have gone up.
Oh yes.
Your skills have gone up.
So I've been using this for 24/7 for like 16 odd months now.
Yeah.
So
with that, with your skills going up, do you think a lot of that's going to transfer into the new productions at in the live world once it gets, have your standards gone through the roof, or have
yes, I've become quite needy. Just ask Bryce.
Yes. Yeah. I get it. Technology is hard. It's hard.
But by the same token, we've also spoiled our clients. So we're kind of half expecting that when they go back and they're in those small rooms, that the budget doesn't afford this kind of a solution.
Yeah, We could never afford to hire StageVision as an AES. So thank you.
We can work something out.
But there's value to it. Like there's pre-production.
I mean, that's why I honestly think that the large mid shows to all the large shows moving forward are guaranteed to be something of this complexity.
Right.
And part of our mandate in this year has been training people not only for their jobs but other jobs. Get them so we can put other bodies in other seats. And I get hit by a bus. Who's gonna?
Yes.
Kevin and I fall off the face of the earth. We're in trouble. So
at least we know that the little line before the line is an input and the star is a party line. At least I know that far. I'm like halfway through.
Okay, all right, there we go. We got somebody to cover me.
We got a new hire.
all they gotta do is watch the presentation, John. Knock on wood. We joke and we jest about that, but at the same time, we want everybody to stay safe and with COVID, like I'm noticing you guys are pretty close and things are getting comfortable now that people are starting to receive second vaccines, et cetera. How has it been working with your colleagues in this, and what are you looking forward to other than live shows once this is all done, and what's something you're excited about moving forward here?
All of my every one of my live event friends, it's always been, I can't wait to be at a lobby bar and have a beer. I am so looking forward to a hotel lobby bar.
This is true.
When's the last time we went to NAB?
Yeah, I know, it's been a long time. So
yeah, exactly. The socializing.
The socializing. Yeah.
No, we've been really, it's been really fortunate. We've had no cases at StageVision. We've done a really good job of keeping things separate. So like I mentioned earlier, every control room has a separate room for like the audio guy, and the video guys are in another room, and the client is in another room, and the stage manager is in another room, and everybody's had their own spaces. Of course, we followed all the same safety protocols along the way with masking, and we've got foggers. We fog the rooms at night.
Wow.
We've got separate ventilation systems in here with air filters, and
Yeah, you guys don't look sweaty at all. Like I'm looking at this, like you guys look like you either got great makeup or LED light.
Well, it's actually one of the kind of interesting things is there's an air conditioner going full bore in here that I can hear, which you guys can't, because what's it called?
Oh, at the Cedar? We've got a Cedar DNS.
We got a Cedar DNS running.
Noise reduction?
Yeah,
noise reduction.
And there's one going, and there's one in this soundstage, and there's one in the one in soundstage number 2. So the Cedar's been amazing for noise cancellation.
When you say soundstage, like you said that these were warehouse spaces that you converted into sound stages, or were they existing kind of? No. How much additional work was it?
So back in August, when we built this soundstage, this is in the central area of our warehouse. So this is the space where all the gear gets pulled off the shelves, gets slotted into separate channels for separate trucks, and because we had no live shows, we used this space for the first soundstage.
Wow.
Like I mentioned, our second soundstage is in our old carpentry shop. And we're planning on expanding that, because I believe that we're going to see in September, October, November, I think we're going to see more people in studio. Because of the lockdowns, we had a lot of clients who were not actually even coming into studio. Our control rooms are used all the time, but the sound stages were sort of, on and off. So we're going to actually expand our second sound stage into a larger space, and probably tear this one out eventually, probably January.
You know what? I love hearing, growth and success in this time. It's a beautiful thing. It's really, exciting to hear, Bryce, and it's really, thank you, John, and thank you, Kevin. We're coming up on the second hour here, and we got to shut it down. I've been told no more events over 3 hours, Anthony. So
3 hours of noise.
I just want to. Yeah, it's Bill Whitlock and I talking about noise for an hour. It's pretty good. It was a privilege. Let me know. But I digress. I want to thank you again for hosting this event and producing just such a polished product and having just such an amazing user experience. It's been a real pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you guys and ask the questions and just poke professionals and see how they react. Did you guys want to, do you have a closing video, or do you have any closing words that you would like to say before we take off for the night here? And
we could probably, I don't know, Kevin, if it's even in there, we could probably play for fun. We could probably play our closing, like our live event video, just for walkout. But I don't think there's really anything else to say. I mean, we could probably, if you wanted to, we could just, for all those people who wanted to, could just sit here and watch John talk for another hour. But I don't think we'll do that to anybody.
No, that's not fair.
We'll do it all the time, anytime.
You and I,
it's a privilege.
Anthony. You and I.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, I just have a nonstop amount of nerding that can leave my mouth and ears. So we'll cheers. Well, on behalf of the Toronto Audio Engineering Society, thank you again for hosting this and producing this. On the way out here, we'll play the video. Again, I want to say to the people in the chat room, there is a link to the event. So if you go to the bottom of the event and you go to torontoaes.org/StageVision something, and you click in the comment, there's a little link in the comment there. If you click pick me, you'll be entered to win this fantastic prize from Ardell Communications, who've been so generous to sponsor the event for us tonight.
Yeah, there's another one too.
There's more.
There's more.
But wait. There's more.
But wait,
what was
Data Visual?
Data Visual has got two little care packages. They've got a Unite 20 webcam available, as well as as a backpack full of all kinds of goodies that are also going to be given away as door prizes at the same time. So
man, oh man.
So Data Visual, we'll the supplier for the Avio.
We'll get you the list, and we'll make sure that we get you in contact with all the other ones. Yes, Data Visual, and then it's super duper. I love that. That's appreciated. And I'll thank our regular sponsors, which are Solotech, Gear Audio, Sono Technique, Bell Media, YSL Pro, Letrosonics Canada, BRTB, Global USS, Adamson, Lao, avshop.ca, and Q5X. Again, we thank our trusted community members. We thank StageVision, our trusted community member, for fanning the flames and pivoting. So, cheers, everyone. Let's watch this video. Have a good night. Drive home safe.
Yeah.
You say that?
Yeah, indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's get a slow pan out and fade to the video. Yeah.